Let's take a look at the major events that you should be familiar with for social studies. With the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, the United States purchased approximately 828 million square miles of territory from France, thereby doubling the size of the country. What was known as Louisiana Territory stretched from the Mississippi River in the east to the Rocky Mountains in the west, and from the Gulf of Mexico in the south to the Canadian border in the north. Part or all of 15 states were eventually created from the land deal, which is considered one of the most important achievements of Thomas Jefferson's presidency. Westward expansion has several parts we want to be familiar with, so we'll go through these one by one. Manifest destiny. In the 19th century, manifest destiny was widely held belief in the United States that its settlers were destined to expand across North America. This attitude helped fuel Western settlement, Native American removal, and war with Mexico. Signed into law in May of 1862, the Homestead Act opened up settlement in the western United States, allowing any American, including freed slaves, to put in a claim for up to 160 free acres of federal land. By the end of the Civil War, 15,000 homestead claims had been established, and more followed in the post-war years. Eventually, 1.6 million individual claims would be approved, nearly 10% of all government-held property, for a total of 420,000 square miles of territory. So to be clear, with the Homestead Act, the deal was if you were willing to farm the land for 5 years, the government would give you 160 acres of land. Transcontinental Railroad. In 1862, the Pacific Railroad Act chartered the Central Pacific and the Union Pacific Railroad companies and tasked them with building a transcontinental railroad that would link the United States from east to west. Over the next 7 years, the two companies would race toward each other from Sacramento, California on one side and Omaha, Nebraska on the other, struggling against great risks before they met in Promontory, Utah on May 10th, 1869. So really the key point there with the Transcontinental Railroad is that it linked east to west and a big part of westward expansion. The discovery of gold nuggets in the Sacramento Valley in early 1848 sparked the gold rush, arguably one of the most significant events to shape American history during the first half of the 19th century. As news spread of the discovery, thousands of prospective gold miners traveled by sea or overland to San Francisco and the surrounding area. By the end of 1849, the non-native population of the California Territory was 100,000 compared to the pre-1848 figure of less than 1,000. A total of $2 billion worth of precious metals was extracted from the area during the gold rush, which peaked in 1852. Articles of Confederation was an agreement among the 13 original states of the United States of America that served as its first constitution. The Articles of Confederation came into force on March 1st, 1781, after being ratified by all 13 states. The guiding principle of the Articles was to preserve the independence and sovereignty of the states. As the government's weakness became apparent, especially after Shays' Rebellion, individuals began asking for changes to the Articles. Their hope was to create a stronger national government. On March 4th, 1789, the general government under the Articles was replaced with the federal government under the Constitution. The new Constitution provided for a much stronger federal government by establishing a chief executive, courts, and taxing powers. The New Deal was a series of programs, including, most notably, Social Security, that were enacted in the United States between 1933 and 1938, and a few that came later. They included both laws passed by Congress as well as presidential executive orders during the first term of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The programs were in response to the Great Depression, and they focused on what history refers to as the 3 R's, which is relief, recovery, and reform. Relief was for the unemployed and poor, recovery of the economy back to normal levels, and reform referred to the financial system to prevent a repeat depression. We should know Black Tuesday. Black Tuesday refers to October 29th, 1929, when panicked sellers traded nearly 16 million shares on the New York Stock Exchange, which was 4 times the normal volume at that time, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 12%. Black Tuesday is often cited as the beginning of the Great Depression. And lastly, we have the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution was the transition to new manufacturing processes in the period from about 1760 to sometime between 1820 and 1840. This transition included going from hand production methods to machines, new chemical manufacturing and iron production processes, improved efficiency of water power, the increasing use of steam power, the development of machine tools, and the rise of the factory system. Textiles were the dominant industry of the Industrial Revolution in terms of employment, value of output, and capital invested. The textile industry was also the first to use modern production methods. Among the most notable innovations were the cotton gin, the steam engine, the telegraph, and the impact was a concentration of workers in urban areas.